Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Saturday, June 22nd, 2013. This is episode 989. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Stamps.com. Use Stamps.com to buy and print real U.S. postage the instant you need it right from your desk. To get our special offer, visit Stamps.com, click the microphone, and enter Tech Guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here. Yeah, the Tech Guy. Time to talk about computers and the internet, cell phones and camcorders, home theater, MP3 players, I don't know, GPS devices, anything with a chip in it, PDAs, personal digital assistants. Yeah, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk about it. My phone number, 8888, Ask Leo, 888-827-5536, toll free from anywhere in the U.S., outside the U.S. Skype will do it. We spent the last few weeks talking about the NSA spy program. It's now become like a joke that everybody makes, like, oh, I forgot to back up your computers. No problem. The NSA has your data. Or, NSA is probably listening on this call, right? Except it's not a joke. It's kind of true. The new thing is that, it's big data. The NSA is saving everything. And how do we know this? Well, because a guy, a contractor for Booz Allen, former CIA employee named Ed Snowden, leaked it out to us. Now he's being charged with espionage. He's in Hong Kong. The United States has asked Hong Kong to arrest him and extradite him for unauthorized communication of national defense information and willful communication of classified communications intelligence information to an unauthorized person under the the good old 1917 Espionage Act. Now, I got to say, of course, he committed those crimes, and I'm sure he thought, as he did it, that, I'll probably be charged with all of this, indicted. And, I can never go back to the U.S. again, that's for sure, and I better find a country where they're not going to send me back to the U.S. There's a petition, more than 100,000 signatures strong, on the White House website saying, please pardon him. And you know what? They ought to. Because what he's done is not endangered anyone. What he's done is revealed to American citizens that their own government is spying on them, information that we ought to have known, that we ought to have been informed about, and he's done us a great service. He's shown us what's going on. And I don't think you can make the case that he's endangered. You might be able to make the case with Bradley Manning and the WikiLeaks that he endangered U.S. citizens abroad, that by revealing all the information Bradley Manning released, that he put U.S. diplomatic corps and spies at risk. And that I understand, and, that's there you can make an argument. You can't make that argument with Snowden. You can't. In fact, I was thinking this morning about Zero Dark 30. Did you see that movie yet, The Hunt for Bin Laden, how we got him? So, you know what? I guess one of the arguments the U.S. government might make is, well, we can't reveal how we're spying on people because then the bad guys will know and clam up. But you know what? I'm thinking back to that movie. Osama bin Laden knew. There was no internet going into that compound. None. Zero. All his couriers were human couriers walking in and out. There were no electronic communications. And when they did use cell phones, they used burner phones as they were driving around so that they couldn't be traced. They know. You think they don't know? He didn't tell the bad guys anything that they didn't already know. What did he do? He told us. And for that, I think he should be honored. He's a whistleblower in the great tradition of whistleblowers. And there's just no way. There's no way that you can say that he has endangered anybody except for those malign people in these three-letter agencies who have decided they're above the law and the U.S. Constitution. They're above the law and the U.S. Constitution. And this guy told us. Bravo. Bravo. This is the Obama administration. And by the way, I'm a liberal. I voted for him. I even gave him money. So I'm not saying this is a longtime critic of the Obama administration. The Obama administration has prosecuted more people in their 6 years under the 1917 Espionage Act than any previous president. In fact, than all previous presidents put together. And here's another one. Yeah, I understand governments need some secrecy. I understand that. But when they're protecting themselves, from the people who elected them, that's going too far. That's going too far. I'm a little disappointed. But I thought I'd mention it since we've been covering this story. It is a technology story, isn't it? Because it's about electronic communications and how they are being eavesdropped upon. And I think we now all know that that's the case. My good friend Mike Elgin wrote a really great article in Computer World in which he said, well, now that we know the value of big data, we should do what the government does, how to create your own NSA spy program. Awesome article in Computer World. His point being that the way the NSA is working, it is very modern. I use the term big data. The idea is collect all the data, collect it all, and trust that we have the computer programs to sift through it, analyze it, and understand it. And in the old days, you perhaps had to be a little selective. You're reading the paper. You don't read every article. You got to be a little selective. You got to pick and choose. In fact, the paper itself was curated from all of the news around the world. They just took the stuff they thought was the best, and then you take the stuff you think was the best. Could you close that door? It's a little bit noisy coming in here. Thank you. So we have to do the same, don't we, with our little finite little brains? We can't understand everything that's going on. It's overpowering, overwhelming. That's what the brain does. Half of what the brain does is reject. Decide what's important. My friend Mike says, well, true, but you can use computers to do this. So start collecting it all. I think he's got a really good point. Use an email program. Don't throw out your email ever. Use filters. In fact, get more email. Capture massive amounts of data, he says. Use things like Google Alerts. You know that? Google Alerts, you can set an alert on Google that when to kind of permanent search. When a term, say you're interested in the PRISM, you could program from the NSA. You could have NSA and PRISM in your Google Alerts. Anytime there's an article about this in the news, Google will dump it to your email. But the thing is, your email now can sort it, put it in a folder. You don't have to even see it. But you've got the data in there. He says, use Gmail filters to skip the inbox. Send those straight to a specially created folder in Gmail. He says, think up new alerts every day. Every time you think of an area of interest, people you know, companies to watch, ideas to keep up with. You get the data in your inbox, well, actually in a special folder. And then if you ever need it, you can search it. You don't even have to read it. He says, use Google Voice. Turn on all the features that save information to email. He says, Voice will save everything, your calls, metadata, we know that word everybody's using now, metadata of your calls, plus full data on your SMS chats, transcripts of your recorded calls and voicemails, even the sound recordings of your voicemails. Dump them all in a folder. You don't have to look at it, just it's there. Google Hangouts, save those. Use websites like If This Then That. Have you seen If This Then That? IFTTT.com. This is a great site. I use this a lot. So If This Then That, they don't have any advertising. I don't even understand how they make money at this. I guess they don't. They're just cool. So use If This Then That to set up filters, create recipes. First, you turn on all the channels that you can. So If This Then That can talk to everything, Facebook, Twitter, email, even the weather. Feedly, which is the new Google Reader, we'll talk about that a little later on, how to move over to Feedly. Tumblr, YouTube. So you can have all these channels turned on. There's 65 total. And then you create recipes linking one to the other. So if I save an article in Feedly, it goes into Pocket. If I save a video, say I want to watch that later on YouTube, it goes into Pocket. Then Pocket is kind of on my phone. I can look whenever I've got some free time. If I post a picture to Instagram, tweet it. Little stuff like that. Here's my favorite one. When the sun goes down, turn on the lights in my living room. That's cool. Mike's right. If government can do it, let's do it. Collect all the data. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Your call's next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number to call. You'll be calling Heather H-bomb we call her. BALM, because she's peaceful. She's spreading peace and quiet and calm throughout the world.
Soothe your technical woes.
So I forgot one other thing about the NSA spying that we just found out. So if you decided, well, and as I do, I've done for years, I'm going to use a PGP encryption. That way I can have private conversations. Even the NSA can't break into this encryption. It's very easy to install. In fact, our tip of the week on the website, techguylabs.com, is how to install it. Mac or Windows. Easier on a Mac, frankly. So the NSA says, oh, and by the way, if you use encryption on your email or something called Tor, which is a way of preserving your privacy, the onion router, so that people don't know who you are, well, automatically, we're just going to assume that you're an enemy of the state and not a U.S. citizen, and we're going to collect all of it. All of it. So I guess I got a pretty fat file at the NSA. It's kind of a mark of stature.
You're going to be targeted like the Tea Party.
If I disappear someday, well, I'm not going to talk about that. No use in calling down the wrath of the federal government upon my head. That's what happens, by the way. That's the thing that is, in a way, the most evil of all of this is the chilling. They call it a chilling effect,
right,
where people just start saying, well, I'm not going to take a chance. Why take a chance? Why speak out against the government, even if what they're doing is wrong? Because I don't want to get in trouble. I want to lead a quiet life. So the chilling effect is the worst part of this, where people just go, yeah, better not stir it up.
I hate that. That is so the
It's un-American.
opposite, yeah, of what the founding fathers wrote the Constitution.
It's un-American. And you look at Turkey, where they're really standing up against an autocratic government. You look at the Arab Spring of a couple of years ago, and then here in the U.S., somebody said, we don't protest the government, we just complain about it on the internet.
That's true.
Yeah. Maybe even
how,
too dangerous to do that now.
Yeah, exactly. In other countries, they'll take to the streets over the smallest
Brazil.
thing. And we just sit in our, living rooms like throwing a piece of paper at the TV screen.
I'm so mad, but I'm not going to say anything.
And going, and then saying how you
When's
much you
Survivor
hate it
on?
Facebook.
I got to see The Voice. Oh, boy. All right, who should I talk to first? We've got a lot of callers. I don't want to keep them waiting.
All right, well, since it's so celebratory, let's talk to Gary online, too. I
Yay.
think we know what this is about.
Woohoo! Oh, it's field day. Hi, Gary. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thank you.
Hey, Leo. It is Gary, Kilo November 4, Alpha, Quebec.
Kilo 4, November,
Kilo.
Alpha, Quebec.
Close enough. and I am outstanding in my field.
Is it field day today?
It is field day, yes, this weekend. 24 hours. It just started as you went on the air.
How did I forget? So this is something amateur radio operators celebrate every day, every month, every year. I'll get it right. Every year. And it's an important one because it's not just a chance to go out and use your gear in the field, which a lot of folks do, like Gary, but it's really about emergency preparedness and emergency readiness. And so it has it has a really important, it's not just for fun.
And it's both. I call it a 24-hour emergency exercise contest, because to get people to participate, we do it like a contest, and camp out, because a lot of people will stay up all night and play. Us old guys, we stay up all night and play with these radios.
It's a chance for old guys to stay up late. I love it. So where are you, Gary?
I am just south of Raleigh, North Carolina.
And are you actually in a field?
I am literally in a field right next to our station.
I love it.
And my local club has got 6 stations on the air here. The reason I wanted to talk to you, though, was everybody in North America, U.S. and Canada, has the opportunity to go visit a field day station someplace near you. So if you've got even a kind of a latent background interest in what this ham radio thing is all about, someplace near you, there's hams out in a field or a park, and with their tent set up and their antenna set up, and they're on the air, and they'll be going until, for 24 hours starting a half hour ago. And it's easy to find the one that's near you. Just Google the words Field Day Locator.
Oh, that's awesome.
and there'll be a Google map with all of the field day stations anywhere nearby. And most of them are set up so that not only can you come out and see them, but they'll let you sit in and get on the air a little bit.
Yeah, as long as there's a licensed operator with you, you can use their gear.
Exactly.
And that's kind of neat.
The station that I'm operating is called the GOTA station. It stands for Get on the Air. And it's designed for people who don't have a ham license to come and we'll train you, a little bit of training. We'll show you how this works. Or for hams that have been licensed for less than a year, so the new guys, because sometimes this is a little bit intimidating. And then
I'm a relatively old guy, 2 years now, and I'm still intimidated. So it's kind of the kind of nice thing to do to have an Elmer, a senior ham, help you out a little bit the first few times.
And there are old timers. We've got a lot of old timers who haven't been on the air in a long time. Those folks are welcome to do it too.
You know what's cool, Gary? This hobby, which seems kind of old-fashioned, analog radio, in the world of digital communications, this hobby is growing faster now than it has in years.
It is. And it's not all analog. We do have some new digital stuff coming along.
Yeah, with Echolink, which is really cool, and D-Star. It's really amazing what you could do. I was on a cruise in Australia, and there was a ham sitting in one of the lounges talking to his iPhone. He said, "Hey, come on over here. I'm talking to a bunch of kids in the States." And he was using, I think he was using D-Star, and that's so cool.
Yep. Well, and we're still pushing the limits, too. There's a guy in Australia. His name is David Rowe. He has developed an open-source codec called Codec 2. Don't know if you've come across this.
No, I haven't. Tell me about that.
Codec 2 is open source. It's the first open-source codec that is designed to do very low bit rate so that you can get a digital voice signal across what would otherwise be a very narrow analog voice channel, even smaller than typical analog voice channel.
That's neat.
There have been codecs that would do this for years, but they've all been proprietary, developed by somebody in a lab somewhere.
H.323 and stuff like that, yeah.
So this is open source. It is just kind of getting out there, and hams are starting to use it on our high-frequency bands, which takes that noisy single sideband signal that you've heard.
Yeah.
And it makes it quiet. It makes it sound like an FM signal.
Wow. It's exciting.
Some hams have been complaining. They want to hear all that noise. They don't want to hear
We're used to. We like that sound.
Yeah.
Field day locator to find out. This would be a great thing to bring the kids. It is a great way to learn how electronics works. How analog radio frequency works, and it's also just cool as get out, and kids really seem to take to it.
Yep, I'm looking at our station right now, and there's a mom and a dad sitting in the back, and a daughter sitting up on the radio having a ball.
If the American Amateur Radio Relay League, ARRL, has a field day locator, just Google field day locator, and they are all over the U.S. There's almost certainly one near you.
Yeah, U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, U.S. and Canada. Yeah. Hey, Gary, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Leo. You've done a lot for hams, and I'm glad you had the opportunity to do just a little bit more.
Thank you. 7-3. I will, one of these days. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Bye-bye.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Scott Wilkinson's our home theater guru, back after a week off. We missed you, Scott. Next week, you're going to New York.
I am. I'm going to be attending an event called CE Week. And within that is a sub-event called CE Line Shows, where a bunch of manufacturers are going to be showing their latest wares. It's kind of like a mini CES, very much smaller than CES, so it won't be that difficult to cover. But Epson will be there, Sony, Sharp, Toshiba. A lot of people clearly are going to be showing 4K, or what we call Ultra HD, 4 times the number of pixels as what we now call HD TV. And so there's going to be a lot of things to cover, actually, and I will be doing so. I'll be recording a bunch of video interviews and putting them together for my podcast the following Monday, Home Theater Geeks, right here on the Twit Network. And I'll also be moderating some panels on this UHD thing. I'll have one panel with a bunch of representatives from the display manufacturers talking about 4K displays, and also one on content, which is really the big bugaboo. You know, there are a lot of displays coming out from Sony and LG and Samsung and a bunch of companies are showing displays that have roughly 4,000 pixels across by 2,000 pixels up and down.
This is called ultra high def, or UHD.
Correct. Sometimes called 4K, and therein lies a bit of a misnomer tale. But in any event, we have these
truly 4K.
No, it's actually, if you go to the movies and you happen to see a 4K movie, which there aren't very many, but it's possible, they're 4,096 pixels across by 2160 down. In the home, it's 3840 across by 2160 down. So there's a slight difference.
It's kind of the difference between 16:9, which is the home format, kind of, and the other aspect ratios, which is
a common aspect ratio in the theaters.
Slightly more wide.
Correct. Slightly more wide.
So that's the difference, because we are getting the same resolution top to bottom.
Exactly. 2160 pixels up and down.
Yeah.
So there is that. That is actually an issue, though, because when they make a movie, it's going to have 4,096 pixels across. But when they deliver it to the home, however that ends up happening, it's going to have 3,840 pixels across. So the question is, how do they make that difference? Do they simply crop off the edges, the left and right side?
Isn't that how we solved it? Have been solving it up to now?
Yes, with the difference between
those black
2K.
Bars. Yeah.
No. That's a different issue.
Oh.
That is the fact that when in home theater we have a 16:9 screen, but if you show a movie, you have letterbox bars on the top and bottom.
Right.
So those are those.
Wouldn't that be the way to do that for this? Is letterbox?
No, because you could in fact do that, but if you cut off the edges, the left and right side, cut off about 3% off the left and right side of the image that they make for the movies, then it'll fit perfectly in this UHD, this Ultra HD.
Yeah.
Or you can scale it. You can actually mathematically compress it and sort of
feels like we've been
down.
through this before. You have that zoom setting. You have that.
Yes.
You have those settings in your TV, but I think most of us have accepted the idea of letterboxing, and it seems like that would be the way. Then you get the same, quality, because scaling reduces quality.
That reduces quality. That's exactly correct.
Yeah,
it
cropping reduces image. You lose some of the movie.
Correct. So it's one or another. You have to choose one or the other. I choose cropping because I don't want to lose the quality of the image that I am seeing. It'll look fuzzier. It'll have artifacts. It might have jaggies on the diagonal lines. So really, I prefer the cropping. But we don't know how they're going to do it. There are a lot of content issues that have yet to be resolved, and yet we're going to see these first-generation UHD displays. They're already available now. You can go and buy them. In fact, I got a letter from someone, an email, who said, "I've seen these 4K displays in the store. Should I buy them?" Catalina Rivera asked me this question. And Samsung has come out and said, no, don't buy 4K displays yet, because we don't know how the content is going to be delivered, and they're going to be obsolete in the first year.
Oh, really? So that's interesting. So if you buy one now, it won't, whatever it does, it probably won't handle the scaling or cropping or letterboxing appropriately.
Well, yeah, and then there are other issues as well. How is that content going to be encoded and compressed?
Right.
How is it going to be delivered? Is it going to be on an optical disc? There's no Blu-ray for this.
Right.
There's no streaming is going to be highly compressed, and so we're not sure it's going to look very good anyway. There is a new compression algorithm that has just been approved called H.265, which is one better than H.264.
I have to say, though, Scott, we've been through this exact same transition from SD to HD, and I think it's pretty analogous, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right. It is. It's entirely analogous. When we first got HD TVs, there wasn't any content.
Right.
And so mostly
we didn't know how we were going to handle it on a different aspect ratio screen.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right.
But we settled it out, and I think maybe the lessons learned from that move to HD will be well taken when we move to 4K.
I hope.
Yeah, I would expect that.
Yeah, so we're going to learn a lot about that at the CE line shows and CE Week event in New York next week. So
I think optical discs are probably not going to end up being part of the solution.
Well, it's a good question. As a matter of fact, the Blu-ray Disc Association is meeting in Macau next week to discuss whether or not they should look at making a new disc format for 4K, for UHD.
Right.
We just don't know. And then HDMI, the way that you get the signal from a device to your display, how's that going to be updated? That's not been updated yet, and it needs to be in order to carry that much data.
You know, it's interesting. It's coming because, and I know how I know it's coming is because Apple has showed last week their new Mac Pro, which is capable of driving not one, not two, but 3 4K displays.
Yes.
Off of that computer, and that tells me that they're expecting people who do video editing and movie making and so forth to be doing stuff in 4K.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I think that's one sign. The tools.
It is coming.
People don't know about this part, but the tools for editing and processing and creating stuff in 4K have been lagging behind too because it's such a huge amount of data.
That's right. That's right. And a lot of post houses, the people who actually put together the movies for final distribution, aren't set up to do 4K.
They're freaking out.
Sony's is, and so any movie that comes out of Sony, if it's played in a movie theater that has a Sony 4K projector, you will actually see native 4K content. And I've started to see it now, and it looks fabulous. It's really great.
It's very hyper realistic. This is the thing I've been lobbying for. 4K. Not 3D. Oh, by the way, what do you think? Did you see ESPN is dropping ESPN 3D?
Dropping. Yep, they sure are. 3D. In terms of broadcast, has not taken off, and I think it's on its way out.
Victory is mine.
No, not quite. Because they're still releasing plenty of 3D movies in the theater.
We'll see. Did you see Man of Steel in 3D or 2D?
Unfortunately, I only saw it in 2D.
Unfortunately. Fortunately, I only saw it in 2D. Very, very happy to know that it was available in 2D. I'll be very interested to see the differing box office scores for 2D.
I'll be very interested
3D.
as well. Yeah. See, I'm a 3D fan. You know that, and you're not, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I saw a preview actually before it was released, and that was in 2D. Okay, oh well. But I liked the movie. Did you?
I liked the first hour and a half of one of the best comic book movies ever. The last hour and a half were worse than the Transformers. And so it was two different movies, and one was great and one was terrible.
Yeah, and they were just slapped together.
And I saw it in a D-box seat. Do you know about these?
Oh, man, those make me ill.
Yeah, but there's a reserved seat in a movie theater, so I just get the seat and I could turn off the actuator, although in this case, it was like an amusement park ride. The last half was much more entertaining. Scott Wilkinson, find him at avsforum.com. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 88. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. Love to hear from you on this field day 2013. Let's get back to the phones. Here we go. Who's next? It's Robert in is it Ancest? Tell me where you're from, Robert. Ancest City? Is that what it says?
No, Kansas City.
Oh, I missed the K. Kansas, and then somebody added a T. Kansas City, Missouri, home of Google Fiber. You don't have Google.
Yeah, you even said it right. Thank you.
Missouri, you don't have Google Fiber, do you?
No, I moved away from Kansas. I'm in Kansas City, but I moved away.
Oh.
And I don't know that I'm going to get it, but I wish I could. But anyway, hey, before I get to my question, Leo.
Yes, sir.
Can I just compliment you and Steve for the Security Now episode you did on the NSA PRISM stuff?
Yeah, I want to point everybody to that. It was 2 weeks ago. I'll find you the web address, and I'll put it in the show notes at techguylabs.com. Steve, now, I got to tell you, it was theorizing how PRISM might work, given his technical expertise. But now that more and more is coming out, I feel like he nailed it.
He did.
Yeah.
He really did. I understand about 80% of what you guys say on that.
That's more than me.
But that show is probably the best one for me that I've ever heard you guys do. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the kind words. Episode 408 at twit.tv/SN408 if you want to listen to it.
There you go. Now, my question is what have you heard about the NUC, the NUC? It's called the Next Unit of Computing.
Yeah, NUC. Yeah.
Yeah, NUC.
Yeah, NUC. It's an Intel. You know, Intel every once in a while comes out with a new design that they're promoting, and it really has to do with the size and shape of the motherboard as much as anything else. The NUC NUC looks a lot like a
Roku.
It's an ultra compact PC, and it probably is primarily designed for home theater. Now, Intel does the spec, but Intel doesn't sell computers. So what they do is they say, here's what it's going to look like. Here's what we recommend. Here's a reference for it. And then if anybody wants to make this, go right ahead. It includes a variety of possibilities processor-wise, either a fourth-generation Core i5, i3, or a Celeron for the low price. That'd be kind of like the home theater version.
What do you think about it as a home theater? Have you used it yet, or what?
No, I haven't, and I don't know who's making NUCs right now.
Well, I thought it was Intel. I'm sorry.
No, they don't. See, they don't. So that's what I'm saying is they design the idea, and then they say, okay, big boys, Dell, etc., make one. Now, Computex, which is the big show in Taiwan that just concluded, did show some NUCs by other manufacturers.
Yes.
And so a typical NUC, again, the size of it's well named because it's the size of a hockey puck. It's like a square hockey puck. Would have a core processor in it, Wi-Fi. It wouldn't be a lot of storage because there's not a lot of room for storage. But the idea would be you'd stack a drive on top of it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a Mac Mini,
Well, you can get. I YouTubed it, and I watched about 3 YouTubes, and one of the guys had actually found and bought a 120 SSD hard drive for it.
Sure.
And he had 2 sticks of 2 gigabyte at 1600 RAM, and I was thinking, well, why would I build a computer if I can get this little hockey puck?
Yeah.
Oh, and would it be sufficient? And could I stream and do all what I need to do on it for the home theater, or would I be better off?
Here's what people are looking for in a home theater. They're looking for silence, and then secondarily, they're looking for something that would be, powerful enough to play back video, presumably enough hard drive space.
Well, you can hook an external in USB, right?
Well, and the idea, I guess, is these are somewhat stackable, so that's why you could have external stuff. So maybe Intel is now. I'm confused, but maybe Intel is making these. I'm not sure. Usually, Intel doesn't make them, but it looks like they might be in this case.
The third YouTube that I looked at, they were unboxing it, and it came in. It shipped in a Intel.
Yeah, so I apologize. I'll correct myself.
Oh, okay.
These next unit of computing, I don't. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, Intel has always made motherboards, or did for a long time make motherboards and so forth, but I don't remember them ever making a full-size box. It's 4 inches by 4 inches, so it's
by 2.
By 2 tall, so it's very tiny. And I really do think this is primarily intended for a low-power home theater PC, something that would sit quietly.
Trying to hook you into, because I was YouTubing and Googling around for HTPC, and the NUC kept coming up.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they're kind of guiding or...
Oh, yeah, they are. Well, they're trying to find... It's interesting because, it looks like that... in fact, I'm reading a review here, which I'll put in the links in the show notes, from my friend Ryan Shrout at PC Perspective. He says the NUC seems a bit odd at first since it is an Intel-branded bare-bones system, something you'd normally only see from the company's partners. So Intel is making this. Boy, is it tiny.
Yeah.
I would read his review. It does have a mounting rack, so you see that? So you could actually mount it to the back of a television. It's that small. It looks like a good idea. You're going to have to run some software on it. I'd recommend an XBMC-based program like Plex, Plex.
Yeah. What? That was my. I'm sorry. That was my other question. What is do you have to buy a Windows 7 OS?
Well, you could put anything you want on it. I don't know if it comes with Windows. That's a good question as well.
Okay.
But I would probably put Windows 7 or Linux on it. There's some good Linux solutions for Plex.
Does Linux work good with a home theater
It's a little tricky. It's a little tricky. Yes, it will, but you got to know what you're doing with Linux. So it might be easier to use Windows on this thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm looking at what's going on with this. I think that read this PC Perspective review. That'd be the first thing I would do before I'd go out and run out and buy this. You know, there are other choices that are kind of interesting. You can run Plex on something called the Ouya. This is a really crazy idea. The Ouya is a $100, very much like the Roku, Android-based console that they're promoting as a games box, but in fact you could put Plex on it for $100, and there's a lot of choices. What you're looking for in a home theater PC, as I said, is quiet and something that will fit into your, home theater looking good. Steven says you can buy the Nook, based on a Core i3 on Amazon for $288. Dual HDMI, that's good. You want the HDMI out because that's how you're going to put it into the home theater. It has gigabit Ethernet. That's good. 1.8 gigahertz processor. It's kind of an interesting idea. $288. It doesn't have. It has slots. It doesn't seem like it has any storage on it, so you'd have to buy some storage for that as well. This is really, I think at this point, more of a do-it-yourself project than I'm waiting to see. And I think this is really what Intel does. The idea is Intel will tell people, this is what we want. Maybe even start selling that. This is what we want to do. This is what's going to be good. But really, you're going to want to look at a system integrator, a company like a Dell or a Lenovo or an HP to put in all the bits and pieces that make it human. Otherwise, it's a do-it-yourself project, but an interesting do-it-yourself project. This one doesn't even come with Wi-Fi. You'd have to put a Wi-Fi card in. Doesn't come with any RAM even. So it's what we call a bare bones, a system that is not ready to go out of the box, that you need to add stuff like storage, memory, and apparently software. NUC, the next unit of computing. Hey, thanks for the call. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, hey, Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. It's the show where we talk about anything with a chip in it. Computers, the internet. The internet's got a chip in it, sure. It's got a chip on its shoulder, too. Home theater. We talk about cell phones, photography, all that jazz. Actually, our home theater guru, Scott Wilkinson, is back briefly just to say hello. And we didn't mention that you're going to be doing a meetup in New York City.
That's right. I'm going to be in New York City next week at the CE Week line shows, doing a bunch of interviews and panel moderating. But Thursday night, June 27th, 7 p.m., I'm going to be at the Rare Bar and Grill on 26th Street near 6th Avenue in the Hilton, in the rooftop bar, the Rare View Terrace, they call it, starting at 7 o'clock, just to say hi to folks. So if you're in New York and want to stop by, we'd love to see you.
Rare View Bar, Thursday, Scott and the gang. And you have a Twitter, Scott, that maybe people could follow you on Twitter for more information.
Oh, absolutely, yes. HT Geek Scott.
Because he's the host of the Home Theater Geek Show, which is every Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on twit.tv. So Home Theater Geek or HT Geek, at HT Geek on Twitter if you want to find out more about the event and the meetup.
Yep.
And I'm sure Scott talks about all sorts of cool stuff there. And he's also the editor at AVS Forum, which is a really great website, always has been for people who are into theater and home theater and television. But now they've got a lot of content there, too, thanks to Scott. Thank you, Scott.
My pleasure.
All right, we'll talk next week all about the line show. Should be a lot to hear. Meanwhile, on we go. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. We're going to move on to line 6 here. And Matt in beautiful Indiana. But it's nice right now. Do you have cicadas in Indiana?
No, I'm actually driving through Indiana. I'm a truck driver.
All right. So you wouldn't know. You don't hear them. I guess it's been quite an infestation in New Jersey.
Oh, the cicadas?
Yeah.
No, not yet. I actually live in Chicago, and I think we had them a couple of years ago.
Yeah. It's a. I don't know how often, but it's every few years. Well, what can I do for you, my friend?
I have an interesting little problem. I've had Verizon wireless for the last year and a half. Okay. My wife originally had them in her business. I had Sprint. I had no problem with Sprint. She talked me into getting Verizon, so we can all be on one bill.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I got the Motorola Razr last Mother's Day. It was on sale. I got it. Real nice phone. I like it. A little too big for my hands because I'm only 5'8", so my hands really aren't that big to hold it. But here, I've been having a problem for about the last maybe year. What happens is I'll have on this phone, the signal goes from blue to white. Blue means I get everything. I can go on the internet. I can watch videos. Right. White means I can only make phone calls. Okay? Here's my problem. While on the interstate, and even by my house, it'll say 4G. It'll be in blue. I'll go ahead to try to surf the internet. It'll turn white. And it'll say 4G LTE in white. Now, I've called up Verizon, and they've sent me back, and they've put 3 different SIM cards in this phone. And it doesn't seem to fix it. Now, I do have the original operating system that's on it, which is Ice Cream or whatever it was.
Yeah, Ice Cream Sandwich 4.0. Yeah, or 4.1, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, I rooted the phone for the Wi-Fi tether because I use the internet a lot on my laptop.
So because they've updated it to Jelly Bean, but you are still on Ice Cream Sandwich because they haven't pushed the update. Got it. All right.
Yes.
And that's one negative to rooting is often it means you can't update afterwards.
Yes, I tried that and it won't let me. And one of my wife's texts over at her work said, "Oh, it's probably because your phone is rooted. It can't access things it needs to access."
That's right.
My big thing is the signal thing, and I try to...
Well, and I'm surprised Verizon's helping you because if they knew that you had it rooted, they probably would say, hey, we can't help you because you don't have the latest updates on your phone.
Yes.
And it may be related to that. I don't know. This blue-white thing I'm not familiar with. That's not a standard. That's the way they're doing it on that phone, and I'm not familiar really with that. If it says LTE, then it means you're getting an LTE signal. It may be that it's not where you live. It's not consistent enough that you can't.
Here's the thing. It'll be in blue. I'll have full bars. It'll say 4G LTE, and then as soon as I go to like do something on Google or even look up my emails, it'll turn to white. Just like as soon as it needs to grab the data connection to grab something off the internet, it'll turn to white.
Now, your wife has an LTE phone as well. Does she have the same problem?
No, she's got the Samsung Galaxy S3, and she's had no problems with that, but I don't know what it is. Now, I talked to another buddy of mine who's got another Razr. I just have the plain Razr, not the Max, and he doesn't have the problem. So
one thing you might want to do, and you could do this in the settings under the update section, is update the PRL.
I tried doing that, and it says the PLR is already updated. Okay,
that's the preferred roaming list, and it might help you as you move around. So you do that when you move around a lot, as a trucker would. When you get somewhere you want to get the best access, you might want to update the PRL at that location. But if it says it's already updated, that's not going to help you.
Yeah, see, that and nobody seems, and I try looking on the internet, and I can't get anywhere.
It could be a flaky antenna. It could be, something physical. I'm worried because you've rooted it. I'm worried that you're not getting the latest updates. Among other things, they update the radios, and it may be the best thing would be to unroot it and update. It's a little tricky to unroot. Can't always be done, but unroot it and update, and then reroute it. The other thing you could try, since you have rooted it at this point, you could put, and it's an old enough phone. If you feel ambitious, you could put a custom ROM on it that might do better.
I could talk to my wife. See, here's the thing. I know computers. I really don't get into the phones. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. I mean, I have my own.
Yeah, I understand. Well, it's very similar. If you've ever changed the operating system in a computer, it's just like that. Because once you've rooted, which means you've got now, I'll use Windows terms. You're an administrator.
Yes.
Normally you're a limited user on these phones, but once you have administrator, or in Linux terms, a super user or root, that means you have all power, which is good. In fact, Google does not discourage this. Some of the carriers do, And some of the phone manufacturers try to prevent this, but in general, it's fine to do this. It's just you have to understand the risks because you have all power. You could erase everything. So now you couldn't change the operating system. Best thing to do is go to the Play Store and download something called Clockwork Mod's ROM Manager. The program's ROM, search for ROM, R-O-M Manager from Clockwork Mod. And download that. I would pay for the full version because then you'll get the full list of compatible ROMs. You go into that program and you can look at all the different available operating systems for that phone. And you know, I mean, as long as you've rooted it, let's go all the way. You might try putting a more up-to-date version. The nice thing about ROM Manager, it'll make sure you're putting a version on that is compatible with your phone. Yes.
The one thing I didn't like about because I have a Jelly Bean, right? Is that what I have on this?
No, you have 4.0. Jelly Bean is offered on that phone, but you haven't been able to update because you rooted it. Yes.
The one thing I've noticed with all the new stuff coming out, they're making it so easy it's actually hard to do stuff on these. I know. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean. And really, you're probably due for a new phone. How long since you got that Droid?
Well, it's been a year and a half. And
you're so close. So in 6 months, there'll be some great phones out by then. You'll have a good choice. That will almost certainly fix it.
Here's the thing. I'm an avid BlackBerry user. I love BlackBerry.
Well, you might want to, Verizon has BlackBerries. You might want to look at the Z10, or if you like a physical keyboard, the Q10's out now.
Here's another thing. I've been trying to find out from Sprint when they're going to come out with the Q10.
Yeah.
I really want to go back to Sprint. I had no problems with them.
Yeah, it's almost out. It's out on some carriers. I don't know about Sprint. Put some ROMs on there. Play with it. Cyanogen Mod is an excellent one. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hard to support somebody when he's rooted it because they're not going to give you any support. Hey, our show today brought to you by our friends at Stamps.com. If you are a postage professional, that is, if you do a lot of mailing at work, you really want to get Stamps.com. I know, the thing a few years ago, and we had it at the office, was a postage meter. But, I have to say, the cost on the postage meter is so high. In fact, a postage meter can cost as much as 80% more than Stamps.com for a lot less functionality. I want you to visit Stamps.com and read up on it. The idea is, just like a postage meter, you get postage on demand, but you do it via the internet, your computer, and your printer. You don't need any special hardware. You don't need special ink. Postage meter ink is as much as 100 times more expensive than inkjet ink, which is already too expensive. Stamps.com, all the features, in fact, more than a postage meter at a fraction of the cost. And the nice thing is, whenever the postage rate changes, Stamps.com automatically updates your rate tables at no cost to you. It's just so simple. Stamps.com, I love it. You can do everything you do at the post office, plus a lot of things you can't, like, buy and print postage in the middle of the night, for instance. It imports addresses from all your address books, including QuickBooks. You can use cost codes to track postage spending by customer, by department. You can get automatic address verification before you print it out. Prints right on the envelope if you're just mailing a bill or a flyer. You can print out stickers for the packages. In fact, it'll even fill out the forms you need if you're doing certified return receipt or international forms. Fills out the customs forms all automatically. It'll help you choose the right class of postage for what you're doing. That scale, that's nice. That USB scale always means that you have exactly the right postage. No more postage due or overdoing the postage. Look, I think by now you realize Stamps.com for any company that does a lot of mailing is a great idea. So here's the deal. Go to Stamps.com, click the microphone in the upper right-hand corner, and use our offer code TECHGUY, 2 words, TECHGUY. The $110 bonus value offer turns into the $80 bonus offer turns into a $110 bonus, which includes $55 of free postage. The USB scale, you just pay, I think it's $5 shipping and handling on that. You get an activities kit worth $5 to kind of make up for that, and, of course, a month of Stamps.com free. Try it. You get to keep the scale even if you decide not to keep Stamps.com. You're going to love it. Stamps.com, before you do anything else, click the microphone at the top of the page and type in 2 words, Tech guy. Stamps.com. It's a pro tip for anybody who does a lot of mailing. We actually have two accounts because we use it so much here. Stamps.com. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S., outside the U.S. Please call via Skype. It won't cost you a thing. We love hearing from our international listeners all over the world. That's why they're international. And you can also find everything we talk about online at our website, techguylabs.com. If you miss a show, all the shows are up there, both audio and video, for your delectation, absolutely free. But the show notes are also helpful in this. We were talking about big data. We try to put every bit of the content from this show up on the website so you can search it, find it, and I hope add to it if you've got something to say. The chat room tells me that the blue and white thing, I didn't know this. I don't have a phone that does that. I have a Galaxy S4 and a HTC One and an iPhone and a Note 2. None of those phones do this, but apparently the blue-white is whether Google is syncing or not. There's some, as much as you might think, well, gosh, we just got the newest, hottest phones, the Galaxy S4 and the HTC One on Android. There's more to come. We expect Motorola will be announcing a new Google phone. Google owns Motorola. They'll be announcing a new Google kind of what they call the Google experience, a vanilla Google phone next month, the Moto X. That might be one to look for. I'm very curious about that one. Even Samsung, which just released the Galaxy S4, has updated it. I saw a few people upset. Well, welcome to technology. It used to be that way in computers, right? You'd buy a computer, it's obsolete the day you take it home. They announce new stuff immediately. Computers have slowed down a little bit, but cell phones are accelerating. Samsung is now making a Galaxy S4, or will be, with a faster quad-core Snapdragon 800 in there. It just, rust never sleeps, the Google never rests. And I'm sure new Windows phones and a new iPhone this fall, right? Pretty sure we're going to get it. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number. Who should I talk to? Heather Hammond, do I have somebody good and exciting and fun on the line here?
Oh, they're all good.
Of course they are. You wouldn't put them on there if they weren't.
Help Bob in Atlanta.
Bob in Atlanta, line one. Hi, Bob. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thanks so much for taking my call. How are you?
I'm great, Bob. How are you?
Man, I am excellent. First, I want to thank you for you and your network. I've been a listener and a fan for years, so thank you so much for all you do.
My pleasure. For those who don't know, besides the radio show, we do about 25 other geek shows. They're all for tech heads, and all week long at twit.tv. That's the website.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Thanks for the chance to plug that.
Yeah. My question is this, Leo. Do you and your brain trust have a recommendation for a Windows-based data deduplication software solution?
Data dedupe. Now, what kind of data? Is it just file system, or is it in a database? Where?
No, it's just file system. It's a small business server with a couple dozen users that keep duplicating images and CAD drawings, and they're just chewing up disk space like nobody's business.
And now, are they all the same name?
In different folders strewn across. It's a Windows Server 2008 box.
Okay.
So strewn across the NTFS file system. So, it's probably going to have to be checksum based or something of that nature. I'm basically, looking for something that will help me identify the duplicates so I can either archive or delete them.
There are a lot of tools on Windows, a ton of tools on Windows to do this. I'll mention a few, but maybe the chat room has some suggestions as well. It is unfortunate that you're in this situation, and it may be something that you just want to buy more storage space. The reason being, deduplication is always risky. You may have the same file name and the same base file, but different changes on either side of that, right?
Right.
Bluey in the chat room saying his Server 2012 does have built-in deduplication.
This is 2008, and I think our next step is going to be cloud-based stuff.
Yeah. WinMerge is a good solution. I'm looking at an old article on Lifehacker that my friend Gina Trapani wrote. Lifehacker is a great site for, just getting life solved, and duplication's always a problem. More of a problem at home with music files. I have that problem. And then, unfortunately, a lot of these rename the file, so it's even more difficult. Here's one that's a good solution if the file names have been changed. Kosh Dukai in the chat room says, duplicate cleaner. Because what duplicate cleaner does, and I think this is kind of what you want, is it does a hash on the file. And so when you do a hash on the file, you're not basing your decision whether this is a duplicate on the file name alone. This is the problem you would have. If employee A changes the CAD file one way, employee B changes the CAD file another way, they save them both separately, but they have exactly the same name. You really don't want to delete one or the other.
Right.
What you'd like to do is merge, but that's a problem for the program that does this. Not all programs can handle it. Of course, Microsoft Office can with Word. So duplicate cleaner looks into the contents of the file. Unless they're precise matches, it won't offer a deletion. So, and that's really the only thing you really do want to delete is if it's an exact copy, file name or not, right?
Exactly.
So this is an MD5 based hash from a Digital Volcano.
Okay.
All
awesome.
Right. Yeah. So there's a number of programs that'll do this. You know what? We've got an article from Tech Republic that has 5 dedupers. This is a very common problem, but I warn you that you got to be a little cautious because you don't want to delete changes. You don't want to delete work. You only want to duplicate files that are exactly the same. And it may be time to go to 2012, Server 2012. But this is something, gosh, I deal with this in my iTunes library, in a smaller scale in my iTunes library all the time. It was a real problem when the kids were still living at home because they would buy the same song that I'd bought. All 3 of us would buy the same song. Now we have, what I want to do is have a large database of all the music and train them to check first, not buy it again, right? And then the problem, of course, is when you're synchronizing, it's not unusual, especially iTunes does this. They'll just say, oh, well, I don't know if it's the same or not. I'll just add that song and change the name, add a 1 or a 2 or a 3 to the song. That's a real pain. Duplicate cleaner or anything that uses hashes is going to be a good idea because it's going to look into the file and say, this is an actual, regardless of the file name, the save date, any of that stuff. When I look at the file, it's the same. Pictures too, right? You might take a picture, and I do this all the time. Adjust it, fix it, make it black and white, perhaps. Crop it. Now that I've got 2 copies, I've got the unmodified and the modified. And actually, in that case, I want to save both. I want to keep the unmodified in case I made a stupid decision to make it black and white. So a file that looks into the contents, that peers into the heart of the file and says, these are different, won't delete those. Whereas a program that just looks at the file name says, well, they're the same name, same size, must be the same picture. Well, we don't want to do that. So you've got to find a program that looks deep into the soul of the file that you're trying to change. Great question, though, Bob. Thanks. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Again, we'll put that answer and all the information on the show notes, along with the audio and the video after the fact, techguylabs.com. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Normally this time, Johnny Jett would be joining us, our travel guru. But as you knew, if you listened last week, Johnny's in Africa with his wife on a great vacation. Wow. I hope you heard it last week when he had the Maasai warriors singing to us. So he's nominated a replacement, and I'm really glad to have him. For anybody who travels a lot, using your cell phone overseas, it's a constant problem. Sebastian Harrison is here. He has a company called cellularabroad.com, and he is acknowledged as the expert in figuring out how to use your smartphone, your cell phone, internationally. In fact, they offer a National Geographic travel phone that offers unlimited free incoming calls in over 70 countries. That is very cool. But today, if you don't mind, anyway, welcome, Sebastian. Great to have you.
Leo, thanks very much for having me.
Yeah. Today, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about data, because I think more and more we don't worry so much about phone calls, especially with Skype. If I'm in the hotel with Wi-Fi, I'm going to make all my calls via Skype, and it's not going to cost me anything.
That's true. But then if you go on vacation, most people don't want to be tied down to staying in their hotel. That's
well,
why
that's
they want
true.
to go on vacation, getting out. So really what makes sense is, it's kind of ironic, because if you speak to AT&T, Sprint, all these guys, they have all these recommendations for not using your service, how to save money by turning
Turn
it
off features.
Don't use it. But I want to use it. I want to use my service more when I go overseas than I do here.
Well,
Because,
there's nothing like having a Google Maps when you're lost in Paris and you go, get me back to the hotel, and it tells you how on the metro or walking. It's transformed how I travel, but I need that data. I need that smartphone to work.
Yeah, and everyone has different needs. Some people have a smartphone, some people have an iPad, some people have a PC or a Mac or whatever. So it really depends on what you need. But for a smartphone, what makes sense is to take out that SIM card that AT&T or T-Mobile or whoever gives you and put in either a local one if you're going to one country.
Right.
I'll give you an example of the rates. If you're going to Spain, and first of all, for calling, it's a penny a minute calling back to the U.S. But if you want to have data, it's about 10 or 15 bucks for a gigabyte.
Well, that's a deal on both sides.
It's an
That's
amazing deal.
much cheaper than AT&T or Verizon. Is the problem roaming? That's really the problem, isn't it? I'm on the AT&T network, but I'm using a Spanish telco. It's going to cost a lot of money. AT&T's got to pay it, so I have to pay AT&T.
AT&T pays something. I mean, they're making a killing. They're making
money too.
Yeah, they're making a lot of money.
But better to use the local cell phone company and the local data plan. It sounds like.
You know, if you're going to go to one country, you pick up a local SIM, which Cellular Broad also, we have local SIMs for more than 50 countries worldwide. But the problem with that is if you go from Spain to Paris, to France, rather, that's not going to work. So you need an international roaming SIM. We have them that you can put in an iPad or you can put in your phone, and it's going to cost you, about $60, $70 for a gigabyte, depending on where you're going.
That's still a lot better than AT&T charges.
It's phenomenally better than AT&T. And not only that, but you're not going to go over with AT&T. Let's say you get a package for $120, gives you 800 megabytes.
That's what I always buy.
That's what you buy. Okay.
But don't go over.
You can't exceed. If you exceed that, it's $15 a megabyte.
Yeah, and that happens
that means
real
you're still
fast.
On vacation, being tentative of your usage.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful. I mean,
and you can't trust the phone. I found out the phone will tell you what your usage is. You get home, you call AT&T. They said, well, their phone isn't accurate. In fact, your usage was a lot more, and now you really owe thousands of dollars. So this is something to really
in February,
handle.
we had a bill for $138,000. $138,000, and I didn't know it, and they're supposed to let you know. I opened up the T-Mobile envelope, and I almost had a heart attack.
This was your bill?
We were using them temporarily.
You're supposed to know better, Sebastian.
I did know better, but they have all these little tricky things that basically they forgot to turn on the package.
This is one reason why you might want to buy this National Geographic phone, because if your phone is locked, you can't just put in a SIM card from another country, for instance. And most of these phones are locked down. So you have to get it unlocked before you leave, if the company will even do that. What I'm also interested in, I'm going to maybe take an iPad or a laptop with me. You also have hotspot, MiFis that you can rent. Is that a good way to go?
That's an excellent way to go, especially if you're traveling with 2 or 3 different devices.
Yes, I am.
Or 2 or 3 different people in your group.
Yeah.
Or if you want to use a PC or Mac or something. Because, with the old USB stick, you have to put it in, you have to download and all that. And it's, not everyone is good at that.
This is like taking a Wi-Fi access point with you that always has connection, which is great.
Exactly. And not only that, but it's more secure, because some people say, I'll just go to a cafe or whatever. That doesn't always work, because you don't always have. If you're in Paris, sure, there's cafes, but you go outside to a smaller town, they're not going to have that.
Right.
And not only that, but they're never secure. So if you have sensitive documents that you're working on, you don't want to use a public Wi-Fi hotspot.
Do they have SIM cards and MiFi devices that will go across borders? I mean, that's my big problem. Is I'm going to be in the fall. I'm in like 5 different countries, everywhere from Italy to Turkey. I doubt there's anything that'll cover all of that, right?
They do. No, there is. Well, give me a call when you do, and I'll let you try one out.
All right.
But yeah, they do, and it costs a lot less than. First of all, AT&T or none of these other companies have them for international use.
Yeah.
And it costs. It's nothing. It's very affordable. So what we try to do is make cellular and data service for any traveler affordable.
Right. So the key to understand is don't wait till the day before you leave, and then forget to call your cell company and just say, well, it's only going to be a few days, because you're going to be shocked when you get back. You've got to be proactive. Look into what your local cell phone company offers, but in almost every case, as you say, Sebastian, they're making a killing. So if you really want to plan and you really do want to use your data, and I think personally having a smartphone when you're walking around an unfamiliar city is worth its weight in gold. Plan ahead and get a way to do that.
You know, when I travel, I use data more than I travel.
Me
when
too.
I use it here back home.
Me too. Google Maps alone. But booking hotels, finding the guides for restaurants, it's wonderful to be able to say, well, what's the best restaurant within walking distance, and find it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or you're walking down the street, you see a restaurant, and you don't know whether or not you
Is
should
this
go
good?
there.
Yeah.
You Google it, and you
Right.
go, okay, I'll pass on this one. It's got a bad review. And you keep going. You know, I mean, it doesn't make sense. I laugh when I hear people, well, AT&T told me not to use it.
Yeah, that's the wrong answer. Well, it's the right answer if you don't want to spend any money. It's the right answer. But
Well, they've been getting a lot of complaints.
Sure.
Of course.
So they say, here's what you do. You turn off data in your phone. You turn off international data, international roaming, international phone calls, and then you have a nice brick in your hand. I hope you enjoy playing Angry Birds.
Well, here's a better tip. Stay home. Don't even travel. If you want to
That'll really save you money.
Yeah, using that kind of logic, just stay home.
That's awesome.
So,
Yeah. Hey, thank you.
Let jet travel for you.
Yeah, the website is cellularabroad.com, and I will certainly look at you before I travel. We've also mentioned in the past there are a number of good wikis that talk about cell phone roaming and which data plans are the best. We'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. It is something, if you're traveling this summer, something to think about ahead of time and not wait to the last minute, because you really what was it, 138,000? How did you get that resolved?
$138,000. Well, they didn't activate it. We were supposed to send them an email to activate it, which we did.
Yeah.
And they claimed they never got it, so I don't know if it was in their spam filter or what have you. That one got resolved. The one for $18,000 did not get resolved, and I just refused to pay it. And then ultimately, it went into collections. I made a deal with collections. I paid 30% of the rate, and I wasn't happy about doing that because it was
$6,000.
Yeah, it was almost $6,000. It was almost $6,000.
Wow. And this is the guy who knows all about it, folks. So just keep that in mind. Sebastian, thank you so much for filling in for Johnny Jet. Cellularabroad.com. It's great talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Leo, and I'll talk to you before your trip in the fall.
Happy travels. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Apparently they're changing, the EU is going to, in a couple of years, change the roaming so that this is less of a problem. If you're
for the Europeans.
If you're an EU nation, yeah.
If you're a European and traveling, cross-border, even now it's fairly inexpensive.
Right.
It's all about what you're doing, all about knowledge. If you know, there's things out there that you can do to save money. I mean, I pay, literally, when I go to Italy, I have 10 gigabytes, and I pay 24 euros, about $30. 10 gigabytes.
Now that's with an Italian cell carrier, probably, yeah?
With an Italian SIM card and Italian cell carrier.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's nothing.
And then what do you do for incoming calls? You just forward your local phone number to that number?
I don't want people to call me when I'm on vacation, so I don't.
You could.
I don't want them to.
You could if it were like when we went to Italy a few years ago and the kids were little. I wanted to be able to receive emergency calls, but the problem is some guy calls up, says, "Hey, Leo, I'm just wondering what's going on," and you, "I'm in Italy. Go away."
And they go, "I'm in Italy. You're great. That's great. Tell me about it." No, I'm in Italy.
No. It's costing me $1 a second. No, go.
But what we do? There's a couple of different solutions. With an Italian one, it's free incoming calls.
That's great.
In Italy.
That's great.
So you just either you put it on your voicemail, "I'm in Italy. Call me on this number," or you just give it out to the people that need to reach you.
Right.
Or with the National Geographic one, it also comes with a U.S. number. So you forward that one to that.
I'm going to look at this National Geographic. So how much does this phone cost?
$59.
So it's an unlocked, but it's not a data. It's just
not for this one.
It's a phone. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple other ones that are data. Most of your listeners are going to have a phone that is data enabled.
Right.
And they'll just get unlocked and they'll just get the SIM card.
That's the thing to do. Yeah, unlock. Yeah. I have the Verizon iPhone. The GSM SIM is unlocked, so you can you can then just pop in a local SIM. And then I always buy unlocked phones. This GS4 is unlocked. So.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But you probably travel with an iPad.
Well, that's the thing. I think the MiFi is going to be the right solution for me.
Yeah, for you or someone who's high tech, definitely. That's the way to go.
And do they have MiFis? Yeah, they're multiple countries.
Yeah, they do.
Let's see. This is what I'm going to look at. Those countries that I mentioned: Italy, Croatia, Turkey, and Greece.
100%.
Really?
Oh yeah.
And it says $8.95 a day for 2 weeks. I'm going to be gone 3 weeks, so wow, that's a great deal. So $140 for 3 weeks. And how much data is that? Oh, I
But then
see.
You add
data.
Then you add the data.
So it's expensive, but it's not. It's still cheaper than the.
Yeah, these prices are going down. At the end of the month, they're going down to about less than half.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I'm not leaving for a couple of months.
Yeah, and these other companies don't have a solution.
Right. Now, the other problem is I'm on a cruise ship, but now in the Adriatic, so I don't. It's not going to work in the Adriatic.
If it's in the Adriatic, you're going to pick up a signal.
I'm not too far offshore at any point, right?
Yeah, you usually pick up a signal.
Okay. This is great.
And then at the port, you do too.
In port, I'm fine, and the ship has Wi-Fi, but it's slow,
Yeah, it's probably expensive.
Yeah.
But usually during the day you're in
I don't want.
town,
Yeah.
And at night you're traveling. You're sleeping.
Mostly when I want data is when I'm on shore because I don't want to get lost or I want to look up a restaurant or something like that.
I tell you, this MiFi hotspot is really cool because you just put it in your backpack, and you and your kids, your wife can access it as long as you don't stroll down the street too far.
That's perfect. That's what I'm getting.
30 meters. 30 feet, sorry. They have to stay
no, it's good.
30
Yeah,
feet.
yeah. No,
At
least it won't go more than 5 feet away from me.
Yeah, exactly.
This is good. I think what we'll do is we'll get and you have unlimited ones. Yeah, that's for 3 weeks, $500, but it's unlimited, right?
Yeah, but for you, I'll give you something else that's going to give you 5 giga, which is going to be first
Five's
of all,
plenty.
5 is a lot, even if you're traveling with a few different people.
Yeah. Hey, we got to run. Thank you, Sebastian.
Leo, thank you.
Take care. $138,000 data bill. And this is the guy that specializes in I don't. How is a normal person supposed to figure this out?
That's where they get you.
I remember being on the airport or back where I had just spent 2 or 3 weeks in Asia with my son. This was a few years ago. And I was very careful, on the iPhone it says data usage, and I made sure I did not cross the threshold. I think it was 100 megabytes. Can't remember what it was. Called AT&T, and I said I just was checking, and they said, yeah, you used 500 megabytes. What? It's going to be $5,000. What? But most of the time you can work out something with these guys.
Yes.
But even if it's cut down to a third, it's still a significant amount of money.
You know what I did once, and this is with AT&T, I tried to get the right plan, but I did go over, and they retroactively put me on a higher plan.
Right.
So I paid.
That's what they ended up doing.
Less overall than what the bill came in
Exactly.
as.
They modified my billing, but yeah. Oh, man.
Tough stuff.
So plan ahead before you go. And yet, it's such a great thing to have a smartphone. I get lost in Paris, and I love to get lost in Paris. But but seriously, it's so great. If you know that no matter where I am, I could just fire up my cell phone, find the nearest metro stop, and I can get home.
Yeah. You're walking across the street in London, and it actually says, look that
left.
way, not that way. Yeah, whichever it is. Well, both ways, always.
Look right. Look, see, I did it wrong again.
Yeah.
Heather Hammond, our more than call screener, my cohort. My cohort in crime. Who should I talk to next here?
Well, we've got some folks with some cell phone issues on the line. So let's talk to Braden in Wisconsin. That's line 3.
Not at all unusual, frankly. Hi, Braden. Thank you, Heather. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Leo, hey, I just recently switched from Verizon to AT&T, and I got an Optimus G,
the
E970, and I've had an iPhone in the past. I've had a Droid X, and I've never had a problem with the microphone, but every time I try to record something at a concert or at a conference, it's all muffled and it sounds like trash. And I'm wondering if this is just my phone, and if there's any kind of app I can get to desensitize the mic or something to control that in a video, or if there's a third-party microphone I could attach to the headphone jack, like the iRig or something from Tascam. What's the best?
Yeah, you nailed it. That's what you're going to want to do on that phone. The iPhone is very smart. It has 2 microphones. A lot of phones are doing this now, but it has 2 microphones, one for noise cancellation. And so as a result, noise is reduced and the quality is better. There are other phones that do that. There are some phones, the HTC One, for instance, has several, I think it has 2 or 3 microphones in it. Depending on how loud the sound is, it'll use an appropriate microphone. One of the big problems with cell phones, you're at a concert, and the sound is so loud, all you get is in your phone. So
yeah, that's what I'm getting. It's pretty rough, and I've never had this before with any other cell phone where it's so bad.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things these companies are addressing. But an external microphone's always going to be better than any internal microphone.
So which one would you or the chat room recommend that I could plug into my earphone port or whatever? Like,
what are you recording? Is it speeches?
Well, some of it's like bands and music, and then some of it's like at conferences when it's noisy and
yeah. So they're almost different different needs, right? If you're recording a talk and you want to eliminate background noise, that's one thing. If you're recording music, you don't want to eliminate background noise, but you want to reduce the sound pressure so that the microphone isn't overdriven.
So which mic would be the best for that?
That's a good question. So for concerts, there are a couple of choices. Do you mind holding a larger microphone?
Well, I'd prefer something that I could just plug into my audio, into the earphone port. And that's why I was looking at the iRig.
iRig's good, and iRig is for... the iRig is good. Audio-Technica makes a microphone with a connector, but it looks like a microphone. It looks like a stage microphone. That may be a little obvious. It's a good USB mic. I use a microphone that is kind of expensive, that's designed for this purpose. Do you want to kind of be stealth?
Yeah, I just want something that I can just pop onto the top of my phone and not have to carry a bunch of stuff around.
I've tried all the mics that you just pop into the headphone jack. None of them are very good.
Oh,
None of them are very good. I think you're almost better off if you can getting something like the Zoom H2, which is a recorder with very high quality mics in it. It's not a cell phone, but it's designed to get good audio. Do you want video? Do you want video as well?
Combine that. Yeah, I want something that'll work with the video on the phone.
Then Zoom makes one that is also a video recorder.
Oh, so then I wouldn't be using my phone. I'd just have that.
Yeah, you're going to get a much better result that way. I think it's actually the Lumia. I'm trying to remember which one has multiple microphones for different sound levels. It might be the Lumia. But everybody's responding to this. Rode makes something called the IXY. The chat room's saying this is a good choice. It's a stereo microphone, which you probably want in a concert situation. Plugs into the top of the iPhone. It's a little obvious.
No, that's fine as long as it plugs in.
Yeah, this probably is the right thing because it's very much like the Zoom. It has left and right pointed. I think James is right. James DeRuvo, who writes the show notes in our chat room, says this is what he uses. The Rode, RODE IXY. It's at IXYMIC.com. You know, I'm going to order one right now, and I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
How much that is then?
You want to know how much it is? Let's see. I don't know. What's interesting, it has its own recorder for high quality audio recording. It'll do 96 kilobit audio recording.
Great.
And it also will fit on a camera. Yeah, this looks kind of cool for meetings, for lectures.
And will that work with the video on my phone then? And I could just plug it in and see the mic?
Absolutely.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how much it is. They can't make these too expensive. Let me look on Amazon and see if they're selling the IXY. They can't make these too expensive.
Great.
Rode makes good stuff for podcaster stuff. $200. It's a little pricey.
$200. Okay.
But it goes. What's interesting now? Do you have an older iPhone or the new one with the Lightning connector?
Oh no, I have the Optimus G right now.
Oh, that's right. You don't have an iPhone. What am I saying?
Yeah.
Then this might not be the best solution for you because it looks like actually they make it both ways. They make one that uses the 30-pin connector. Yeah, this would be one to look at. It may be iPhone only. Tascam, as you mentioned, makes the IXZ. That's an instrument input. This is interesting. I don't know exactly what's the right choice. This IXY has a 30-pin connector. 96 kilohertz, not kilobits. That's right. So that's not going to be a good solution for the Optimus. I wonder if they make one.
What does the chat room say about the iRig?
Chat room, what do you say about the iRig? I haven't used the iRig. I know the iRig primarily is an instrument input. They make a guitar input that's supposedly quite good. Don't know off the top of my head. I think if you're going to record video, you'd almost be better getting that Zoom video recorder with good. It's designed for best audio possible. I don't know. I'll tell you what. Keep listening. All right.
Will do. Will do.
Yeah.
The chat room.
Yeah. The chat room is always really good. They say, "Come to us, and we will tell." They're always good for that kind of thing. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk about computers and the internet, cell phones, home theater, digital photography, NSA spying, and all that jazz. Anything with a chip in it. 8888. Ask Leo. 888-827-5536. Our website is techguylabs.com. You can get into the chat room that way. Lovely, lovely place. techguylabs.com. Also a place to get answers and add answers. If you're listening to me and shouting at the radio, then this is for you. If you go to techguylabs.com, you can find the show, find the question and answer pair. We always put all of that stuff up after the fact and then say, Leo, what's wrong? The answer is, and that would be great. I'd love to get some suggestions for ways to record concerts and lectures and so forth using your Android phone. That'd be a great place to put those thoughts. A lot of people had some ideas. But the main number, 8888, Ask Leo. That's the number to call. I got a little safety announcement, Heather.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's summertime, and everybody's barbecuing.
This is low tech.
I think I burned my eyebrows off. I'm just checking. No. Are they still there? Yeah.
They look great.
There was
Maybe they needed a little
It might have helped a little bit with the bushiness. So I have one of those, they're based on the Japanese Kamado ovens. They're a big ceramic grill. It's called a Big Green Egg, and I love it. Yeah. It's the best grill I've ever had. Very, very expensive, ridiculous, but it's great. But there's one little thing. It's sealed, right? And so when you're done, you seal it all off like a Weber. You seal it all off so that the coals go out and whatever. I don't know, some magic. And they warn you about this, but I never really experienced it. Oh, when you crack it open, a lot of air flows in, and suddenly the coals come alive. And I mean a fireball. I open it up a little too hastily. You're supposed to just crack it like a soda can. Let the fireball happen in a small way, and then open the rest. Open a little too. Fireball envelops me, burns all the hair off my arms, and I just got a haircut, and I had a little cute little tuft right here. I looked like Bob's big boy with a little curl. Burnt the curl right off.
Oh, my.
So just a little.
When was this? Just last Sunday or?
Yesterday.
Oh, man. Well, you seem to have recovered nicely.
Yeah, I have a little bit of, I thought it was a sunburn, but I think it's actually a burn.
Ouch.
On my chest.
So
anyway.
It's called a Komodo?
Well, this one's the Big Green Egg, which is a brand name, but it's based on I don't know if it's Japanese or Korean ceramic kind of oven grill setup. It's crazy. Just forget I even mentioned it. BigGreenEgg.com if you want to
So, of course, I want to ask if you were cooking Komodo dragon.
Nah.
Or the commode.
I was just cooking a little side of steak.
Nice.
It's a lovely steak cooker. I wanted to ask you about this. Do you use Instagram?
Yes.
You seem like that type.
And I don't use it enough, I think. But
so you know what they did this week?
Yes.
They added video.
I think it's too long.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Instagram, which has for a long time, like a couple of years now, been the #1 place to post photos, and the kids love it. In fact, so much so that Facebook was, I think, quite threatened by Instagram. They were starting to use Instagram instead of Facebook. So Facebook purchased Instagram for more than $1 billion, and they've now changed it just a little bit on. I guess it was on Thursday this week. They announced the addition of, instead of just stills, and Instagram's been famous for its beautiful still pictures, they're adding video to it. So now you can put 15-second. You know why? Because of Vine, right? Mm-hmm. They're doing the same thing Vine does, except Vine's only 6 seconds. That's the Twitter product. This is 15 seconds. And you same thing where you press and hold to shoot, and so you can edit inside of it. They have filters. And now all of a sudden, my Instagram feed is filled with video as well as pictures. I'm just wondering, my daughter, who's 21 and a big Instagram user, she said, I don't like it. I just think Instagram is about celebrating still pictures. So, you don't, by the way, you don't have to use all 15 seconds. You can still make a 6 second. I thought Vine was too short. 6 seconds was too short.
Huh. I think you can deliver a lot of information in 6 seconds.
Apparently.
It's a good challenge.
I'm just curious. So will you shoot video with Instagram now?
I'll try it today. I can, right? They made it available.
Oh, yeah. It's Android and iPhone. They already updated it. If you haven't updated your apps, you should get it automatically. I don't, I like video. I haven't done anything with it yet. It's a lot easier just to take a single picture. But I don't know. I thought at first I said, oh, this is great. And then I've been hearing from a lot of Instagram fans who say, no, Instagram is about celebrating the still picture. And putting video in your Instagram feed is just a bad idea. So I don't know.
Well, and do you remember Vidi?
Yeah, all of the other guys are dead now. It's I mean,
I know.
If you were if everybody was trying to make the Twitter for video and then the Instagram for video, now Instagram's done it. There's really no point. Yeah. We have an Instagram for video. It's called Instagram.
Right.
This is I'm just looking at a video that's posted by Biz Stone, who was the former founder of Twitter and CEO of Twitter. So he's using it, oddly enough, even though this is definitely a competitor to Twitter. The kids, they move so fast. They grow up so fast.
Grow so fast.
And now they're both of my kids. I have an 18 and 21-year-old, and I think they're the role models for what kids today are doing. I watched as they went from MySpace to Facebook, and then from Facebook to Instagram, from Instagram to Vine, from Vine to Snapchat. They move. They don't stay. They go where their friends are, and I think it bodes in the long run bodes well for Facebook's going to become a place for people like you and me to catch up with our high school friends. Right? Wah. Isn't that sad? 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number. Who's next, Heather?
Well, we were talking about helping out earlier callers. So before we talked to Sebastian, we had a phone issue, and Steve in Corona has a answer for that.
All right, Steve in Corona can help us out with Sebastian. Hi, Steve. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
How you doing, Leo?
I'm great. So we were talking. Sebastian, of course, had that $138,000 T-Mobile data plan bill. What's your solution?
Well, it's not on that. It's actually for the previous caller on the truck driver that was driving through Indiana.
Oh, yes. He was having trouble with his Verizon. He'd get home, and even though he said he was getting 4G, he wasn't getting much of a signal. What's the solution?
Well, what Verizon does is once you download the tethering program, because they don't want you to tether your phone, especially if you have an unlimited data plan.
Right.
As soon as you install that on a rooted phone, when it goes to connect, they then block all your data access.
Oh, so it's because he said, I'm going to be smart. I'm going to take my Razor, I'm going to root it, which gives me full capability, and install a program, an illegal program that allows me to use my phone as a Wi-Fi access spot. Verizon is not stupid. They suddenly see that and they go, yeah, well, so there.
The solution I found, what I had to do to fix my phone is I had to actually reflash the SDF file on the phone for it to stock and then reroute to get it back.
So you can keep root, but you have to reflash, what is it, the
SDF file, boot file.
Okay. So
you can find them online, and you have to, sometimes it goes through Linux. It's a little bit of a pain, but you can reflash it, and then you can get data access back, but it won't come back until you reflash the system boot file.
And I should point out, at this point, you are, of course, tricking Verizon, violating, no doubt, your terms of service.
Yeah, it pops up when you install it and go connect that you're in violation of the terms of service.
Yeah. I don't think, thank you for that, though. And I'm sure you could find this at XDA Developers. That's the place to find out all this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not illegal to root a phone, but I do believe it's illegal, or at least a violation of terms of service, to tether without Verizon's, or hotspot without Verizon's knowledge, because they want to charge you extra for that. Not that anybody has any sympathy for Verizon, but I just want to point out that that is something that they expect you to pay for. In fact, all the cell phone companies, there may be some exceptions down at the bottom end, Sprint or T-Mobile, but I know AT&T and Verizon both want to charge you extra if you're going to use your phone as a data source for other devices. Thank you for that tip. Appreciate it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. More calls right after this. I've done some research, and it's very confusing, intentionally, I think. But Verizon, the bottom line of this is you can pay Verizon $20 a month for hotspot capability, but you don't have to, due to a settlement with the Federal Communications Commission last year. Hotspotting is taking your phone, turning on that hotspot feature, sharing your internet connection with other Wi-Fi devices like your tablet or whatever, And it's a great thing because then you don't have to carry around a separate device. Your phone becomes a Wi-Fi access point everywhere you go using the 3 or 4G network. It's built into the iPhone. What's it called? Personal hotspot, something like that in the iPhone. On Android phones, there are apps you can download from the Play Store. These are legal. And you can download them and use them, and it's fine. All of this goes back to the 700 megahertz spectrum auction. You may remember this from a few years ago. Remember when the FCC forced television stations to go digital? They said, we want this analog spectrum, the 700 megahertz spectrum back. You can't have it anymore. Remember when all the TV stations put all the announcements, we're going digital, you can't use an analog tuner anymore, you can't use your rabbit ears, remember that? Well, the FCC then took that spectrum, those wavelengths, the 700 megahertz wavelengths, and put them up for auction for billions of dollars. Google was one of the bidders on this. And Google pressured the FCC to make regulations about this spectrum, saying that it would be open. There'd be restrictions on what whoever bought it could do with it. Well, it turns out Verizon and AT&T ended up buying it. Google bid but didn't bid enough. I think now in hindsight, Google's whole reason for bidding was to get these rules put in. The rules say, among other things, that licensees of this 700 megahertz spectrum, quote, shall not deny, limit, or restrict the ability of their customers to use the devices and applications of their choice on the network. It's against the rules. So the FTC and the FCC went to Verizon and said, apparently you have told Google to take all of the apps off the Play Store that allow tethering and hotspotting. No. Verizon said, it was a mistake. One of our employees. We certainly didn't mean to, sir. They voluntarily paid $1.25 million fine. And now, because of this, you don't have to pay for the ability to hotspot, but you still can. And Verizon knows perfectly well that most people are not going to be aware of this and are just going to check the box, which is actually what I did. And I've been paying $20 a month on my phone bill for some time for this ability, which I don't need to pay. There's some benefits. For instance, if you're on an unlimited data plan, there are limits if you're going to hotspot. They don't want you to use unlimited data that way, so forth and so on. You'll maybe get more data if you pay the $20, but you don't have to. So check your bill if you're a Verizon customer. If you're paying for hotspotting and tethering, you don't have to. And you don't have to root your phone either. So our caller rooted his phone. He actually wanted to be able to download a, quote, illegal. It's not illegal. There's dozens of applications, apparently, third-party applications on the Play Store you can download and use. And Verizon says it's fine. They said Verizon has always allowed its customers to use the lawful applications of their choice on its networks. We don't block customers from using third-party tethering applications. We'll charge them for it if you want. And I guess the FCC can't stop them from charging for it, even though you don't have to pay. It's very confusing. So, if you want to subscribe to Verizon's Mobile Broadband Connect service, you can pay an additional $20 a month, but you don't have to. You could just download a third-party app, and you don't have to root your phone either. But if you are rooting your phone, Verizon then is going to say, we're going to block your bandwidth because, it's so confusing. I am totally confused. And, of course, that's the full intent of Verizon, isn't it? The more confused you are, the more likely you're just going to check that $20 box. So, I'll tell you what. I'll put a link in the show notes to an article on CNET that has a long FAQ about what you can and cannot do. One of the questions, I'm a subscriber to Verizon's $20 a month mobile broadband tethering service. Will I get a refund from Verizon? No. Verizon maintains it didn't block its customers from using third-party tethering applications. It wasn't breaking the rules. If you paid, you paid. And so when you ask, well, okay, you don't have to pay the fee, but it seems like the cost is built in. Verizon's response, our usage-based plans allow customers to pay for the data they need and use, including any tethering done through third-party applications. So as long as Verizon doesn't block these applications, it's not in violation of the law, but it's completely legal for them to pretend you need to pay $20 for this stuff. And I think they fool most people, including me. Holy cow. As Loquacious in our chat room says, it's like saying, yeah, we are slippery, but you got to catch us first. Oh, man, it's like a bad used car salesman. No, I wasn't charging you for that. Yeah, I was charging you a convenience fee. Yeah, that's it, a convenience fee. Do you want undercoating on that phone? Amazing. It's not, and the reason they can get away with this is it's not like anybody else is any better, right? They're all doing this. Let's say hi to Ben in Barstow, California. Our next caller. Hi, Ben. Leo Laporte, the tech call.
Hi, Leo.
Hey, Ben.
I am 10 years old. I want to learn how to program Objective-C so I could launch apps for iPad and Mac OS X.
So you can be a millionaire and support mom and dad in the style to which they've become accustomed.
Yes.
Will you buy Dad a pink Cadillac for this? No, just teasing.
No idea.
I'm teasing you, Ben. So, yes, I agree. I think this is a really good. Have you done any programming at all yet?
No.
Okay. So I wouldn't start right out writing software for iOS. Who knows? Maybe nowadays. Kids today, maybe you should. Do you have a Mac?
Yes.
Okay, so
the 2010.
Good. So the first thing to do is you can download all the software you need to write for iOS from Apple for free. It's in the App Store. It's called Xcode. You got all that?
Yep, I got Xcode.
Okay. Now, you're going to want to go to connect.apple.com. That's their developer site. And download the iOS.
Let me grab my iPad.
Kids today.
Okay.
You want to go to connect.apple.com. That's the developer site. And because they have the iOS SDK, the software developer kit on there. Okay. Now, here's another thing I'd recommend. iTunes has a great class from Stanford on writing software. Is it developer now? All right, developer.apple.com. From Stanford, writing iOS software. It's on iTunes U. Hold on a sec. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Stream Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We were talking to Ben, who has an admirable ambition. He's 10 years old and wants to learn how to write software for the iPhone. I generally say you should, but I'm an old guy. I generally say it's a good idea to start when you're going to learn to program, start in a somewhat more circumspect manner. Not that that's how I learned when I was not quite so young as Ben. But I learned how to write software in BASIC on CPM computers and then an Atari. And it was always with an idea towards writing specific programs. So maybe that's not such a bad thing to do. A lot of folks say start with something like Python. It's easy and it's very C-like. So you'll learn basic syntax, basic programming. If you've not done any programming at all, Python is probably a good starting point. And there's an online book. What was the name of it? How to Write Software. I'm trying to remember. How to Python. Let me look that up. Python has a lot of great online learning stuff, but there's Python for beginners and so forth.
Okay.
So I would certainly start with something like that. Learn Python the hard way. The classic is How to Think Like a Computer Scientist. And this is all available online for free. How to Think Like a Computer Scientist. And it's in Python. And it teaches you kind of the concepts that you probably need to know before you can write good software.
Okay. So
however, pardon me?
So you want me to start in Python? Where do I learn that?
Well, after you've learned Python, what you're really learning is not... Let me explain this, Ben. There's two ways to learn to program. There's one is just saying, I'm going to learn how to talk to a computer to get it to do what I want. That's like learning a foreign language, right? The other way, and that's one way, and it's the way I learn, and it's probably not the best way. The way, really great programmers like to start is, I'm going to learn a way to define and solve problems, not having anything to do with the computer, but a language for defining and solving problems. Once you've learned how to do that, you're now thinking like a real programmer. You're thinking in terms of not instructing the computer. That's really can sometimes get you into trouble. Better to think of how do I express the problem and how do I solve the problem? There's some great places online like Code Academy. I would definitely look at codeacademy.com. Make this summer be your goal to learn how to program right. Okay, and you could do this summer easily. Codeacademy.com or Udemy, UDEMY.com, also very good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to learn it's like saying I'm going to learn how to swim because I need to reach that island versus I'm going to learn how to swim with the right technique, the right style, and then once I'm really a good swimmer, I'll swim to the island. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
So if you have the time, and you do because you're 10, it would probably be better to learn how to do it right. So greenteapress.com/thinkpython, that's really a classic. Codeacademy.com. We'll put these, here's one thing to write down, and it's all going to be there. TechGuyLabs.com.
TechGuyLabs.com.
Yeah, you got it, Ben. And we'll put it all in there, and others will have some suggestions. Then go to developer.apple.com. You can even do it simultaneously. Download Xcode, download the SDK.
It's already on my computer.
Yeah, you're all set. And then the other thing you might want to look at once you learn how to program is iTunes U, as I mentioned, has a classic course on iOS development. It's free. You can download it. It's got coursework, lectures, everything, often led by not only professors in computer science, but by Apple employees who write actual code for iOS.
Like programmers for iOS 7?
Yeah, stuff like that. So on the one hand, for some people, saying, I want to swim to the island is the motivation they need. That's all. I'm going to learn how to swim so I can swim to the island, and that's the best way to learn. If you have the time, the leisure, and it suits your personality, better to learn how to swim well and then say, now I'm going to go to the island. The other place that's great, if you can get mom or dad to send you to, maybe next year or the year after, bignerdranch.com. They have a 2-week course in iOS programming. They also have, by the way, they have books. That's just fantastic. But it'd be better to to understand the concepts, the roots behind programming first. And then say, okay, now I know how to swim. Let's make a good goal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Good. I think you've got exactly the right motivation. Patience is hard when you're 10. I know you want to get right into it. But if you learn programming well, if you learn the right way to do it first, if you crawl before you run, I think in the long run, you'll do better.
Okay.
All right. And there are lots of other places you can learn this if you just search around. There's some really neat, if you go to alice.org, that is a programming language designed to teach kids. Maybe you're too old for this, too advanced, but it's worth playing with. Object-oriented programming in a 3D environment. It's very cool. It's from Carnegie Mellon. Alice.org. And then there is a MIT program to do something similar called Scratch. Scratch.mit.edu. Similar idea. You're probably a little too old for this stuff.
Okay.
But you might look at it. It's all free. You can download it. And then the last thing I'm going to give you, which is, my favorite, is how to design programs. This is for college kids, but you're smart, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's free. It's htdp.org. This was the old MIT and Duke University Computer Science 101 class. And they decided to make it more practical and less theoretical, and so they moved away from this. But I still think this is the right way to do it. You'll be downloading the book is free, even though it's from MIT Press. It's all online, and you'll be downloading a programming language called Scheme to do it on your computer. You will learn some great stuff this way. And then when you become a computer programmer, you'll be way ahead of your peers because you'll understand test-driven design and the whole idea of doing it right for the first time. All of that stuff. Good luck, Ben. I have a feeling we're going to be hearing from you.
Thanks.
Have a great time. It's one of the best hobbies ever. Even if you just do this for fun, it is one of the best hobbies ever. Shirley in Santa Barbara, you're next. Hi, Shirley. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Oh, hi there.
Hey.
You're just going on with this young man here about how to get started, and all I want is a simple book, maybe, that I can use.
First-time computer user? Is this brand new for you?
Yes, I just have hearts. I can play hearts, and I used to play football pool, but somebody put that in there for me in my email, and that's all I know. I don't know how to do anything other than those three things, and I can't get anybody to teach me. My granddaughter's a whiz, and she just goes through something, and now you know. I said, no, I don't.
Yeah, I do that to my mom, too.
You go to school and you learn the ABCs, but you don't do it in 1 hour.
Yeah.
And she doesn't understand that. And then I tried to get books, and they all start like with a desktop with terms. I don't understand any of the terms. I want it like I'm in second grade. I tried to get in there, but they wouldn't let me.
I don't blame you one cotton picking bit.
Yeah.
And I've got, if you don't take it the wrong way, I'm going to recommend a book for seniors, for computer users. It's for dummies. It's a for dummies series.
I've had that one. I'm not sure, but they always give me this tabletop or desktop infos to do. Push this and push that, and I said, I don't know where it is.
I'm going to give you an easy one. So hang on, okay? We got to take a break. When we come back, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Dick DeBartolo, our gadget guys, coming up in just a second. Before we do, though, I want to wrap things up with Shirley. She's in Santa Barbara. She's new to a computer. Do you have a computer yet, Shirley?
Oh, yeah, I've had one for ages.
It's a Windows computer?
I think so. Yeah, it's a Toshiba Windows, I think.
Okay.
That I'm not even
Yeah. I mean, I would look at an iPad. For people who don't want to learn how to use a computer, the iPad's a great solution because it does everything you want. It's very intuitive. But there are a lot of really good computers for newbies, especially for seniors. Chat room's recommending Abby and Me.
Okay.
ABBYANDME.com. Okay. She makes a book, and I think you'll like the title, Is This Thing On? A Computer Handbook for Late Bloomers, Technophobes, and the Kicking and Screaming.
Okay.
Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
And then if you search Amazon for seniors for dummies, you'll see that the For Dummies series has a lot of books for seniors that are, I think they do a good job. They're very clear, lots of illustrations. They don't assume anything. You might want to start with Computers for Seniors for Dummies by Nancy Muir.
Okay. Well, I'll have to have somebody get into this for me because I don't even know how to research that on a computer. All I can do is push my button for hearts, and I always win.
Yeah. You're good at hearts. That's a good sign.
Remember all those numbers. I was a data processing operator for 12 to 15 years on key punch, they called it then, and I could program my own cards and everything, and then they started getting more sophisticated.
Right.
The computer. No, I never got to do that. I was too out of it, too late. So.
I think you'll love it. I seriously, the next time, get an iPad. I think that would be a great choice for you. That's what my mom uses. She has all the stuff. She's got laptop, desktop. The iPad's the one she uses and loves.
So how do I get that?
Go to the Apple Store.
Oh, okay. All right. See,
Apple also has great one-on-one instruction. If you go to their one-on-one classes, they'll sit down with you, and they don't move real fast. They're very slow, and they show you how to do it, and I think it's great. But an iPad is such a good place for most people who buy computers. Really should have bought an iPad, to be honest. It's more secure, easier to use, safer, does everything you want, especially hearts. Man, the card games, great card games. Hey, Shirley, good luck. Thank you. Dick DeBartolo is here. He is Mad Magazine's maddest writer and our gadget guru. Hello, Dickie D.
Leo, how you doing, pal?
I'm well.
Yeah. I use Carbonite, and I also get 5 cases of soda a month because I thought you said carbonated.com.
You use that Soda Stream. Do you like your Soda Stream still?
I do like my Soda Stream, and I was at a show this week where they're coming out with a whole new line of them to make it even easier. Just push, a picture of how much carbonation you like. Yeah, I do like it.
He makes his own soda, ladies and gentlemen. That's...
You don't have to carry bottles back and forth.
Yeah.
That is...
It was a lot cheaper, too.
Yeah, it's about half.
Yeah.
About half.
So what do you got for us this week?
Something neat that you might like from Kingston. We both know when we see stuff at CES, you don't run out and find it in the store right away.
Right.
So we saw this in January, and it just went on sale last month. And it's called the Mobilite Wireless from Kingston. I use this with my iPod Touch because I have the iPod Touch with the smallest amount of memory. I like to watch movies. So the Kingston Y Drive, the Kingston Mobile Light Wireless will take SD card, micro SD, or a USB memory stick. Then you turn it on, go into settings in your device. You will find Mobilite Wireless. You click on that. You are now connected to the device. Up to 3 people can connect to the device. And then you can access whatever is on those memory cards or memory stick that you put in there. I put in... I carry Turner Classic Movies everywhere with me on a little SD card. So I stick that in the Mobile Light, and then I can watch my Turner Classic Movies on my iPod
So
Touch.
this thing doesn't have any memory itself. It's just a way of taking your memory and making it available via Wi-Fi.
Right, to 3 people. And then in an emergency, it has a built-in 1800 milliamp 3.7 volt battery. In an emergency, you can actually plug a device into it and then turn the mobile light on, and it'll charge the device that you plug into it.
How much is this?
It's $59 on Amazon.
That's cool. But do remember, you'll be buying some additional memory, whether it's an SD card or a USB stick or something.
Chances are you have a ton of that stuff.
Yeah,
around.
I do. I bet you do. To do it this way is kind of nice because it's easy to move the movies onto a USB thumb drive or an SD card and then just pop it into this thing.
Pictures off your device onto it. And then, if your camera is full or your phone camera is full, you can download photos to this and then free it up on the device itself.
We should mention that it requires an app on Android or iPhone or iOS. So you need to, it is Android or iOS only, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah,
well, that covers a lot.
Well, but there's, BlackBerry users going, why can't I use this myself?
Well, they can look in the window, and I'll show them mine.
Dick DeBartolo, he's at gizwiz.biz. That's his website. Make sure you check out show notes on this and all the products he mentions on our various shows. He appears on ABC and talks about gadgets there. And, of course, every week on Tuesdays, we do the GizWiz show where we have 5 gadgets. Last week, my gadget was a device to make your own Egg McMuffin.
Yeah, and exploding Egg McMuffins.
Yeah, well, I was trying to make the secret sauce, and it didn't. I had some problems.
Yeah,
but hey,
the whole world knows about that secret sauce now.
It's no secret anymore. You can also play the "What the Heck Is It" game, a close-up picture of some gadget or doodad, and if you can figure out what it is, well, he's got 12 autographed Mad magazines for the right answer, 24 for the wrong but clever answer. So better to make one up and be clever. You have a better chance of winning. Gizwiz.biz. Thanks, Dickie D.
Yes, sir. See you Tuesday.
I'll see you on Tuesday. And Dick will stick around. We'll be doing, after the radio show, we'll do the Giz Fizz on the podcast network. That's at twit.tv if you want to watch that. Yeah, I made elephant toothpaste. It's, you know what it is? It's a chemistry experiment that high school teachers do. But I just decided to do it in the studio, and it kind of made quite a bit of a mess. All of our show notes, all the information from this show available on our website, techguylabs.com. And I want to encourage you, when you visit, to add your own information too. We have a great comment section and a bunch of really good, smart people who can add stuff there. techguylabs.com. The show is will be up on there in audio and video shortly after the show ends. So if you miss a show, you can always catch it there. We have podcasts available as well, all for free. And you can look through the show question and answer by question and answer. So each question and answer is there in audio and video, so you can watch it, listen to it, see the transcription provided by our able transcriptionists, James DeRuvo during the show and Josh Windish after the fact. And then if you disagree or agree or want to add some information, please do so in the comments. That way, this site's always free, and we want to make it a bigger, richer resource for everybody with lots more information. If you have a good idea for Shirley on how to get into computers, if you're brand new at it, that would be great. If you have some suggestions for our 10-year-old Ben on how to become an iOS programmer, that would be great. It's all at techguylabs.com. Heather, you can wrap it up. We're all done. Thank you, Heather Hammond, our wonderful, talented, beautiful call screener. Have a great weekend, and you all have a great Geek Week. I'm Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. See you next time. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the Twit Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows and Windows Weekly, Macintosh and Mac Break Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.